It is time to breathe again on the latest breath of fresh air webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So you see Patrick Brackett there with me, Charles, and as usual, Patrick, we have a lot to cover. So without further ado, let's get to it, and let's start with one of those life conversations, kind of a morals conversation. And this is going to take us toward our own fandom, Patrick, and I guess the fandom of anybody who loves sports or fans of anything. So, what I mean by that is this: if you have a favorite team and they decide to bring on somebody who did whatever, whatever, name the crime. Now, of course, Deshaun Watson is the latest example of this, based off of what he's accused of, and then the Cleveland Browns signing him to that ridiculous historic deal of $230 million guaranteed. So you've heard a lot of people talk about not being a fan of the Browns for doing that. Women's groups have been upset about him getting this deal. And then you have other people who are saying, hey, the organization's doing whatever they can to make sure we have the best chance to win. So, if anything, they're more emboldened to be fans of the Browns, especially if they were fans already. So, I guess where I'm going with this, Patrick, and of course, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you, or should people, for that matter, have some sort of a limit for their fandom? So, do you, like, if somebody was coming on, and there's many players we could use. Like I said, Watson is the first example of it, or latest example of it, but you can say the same thing about Colin Kaepernick back in the day, a few years back, or Tim Tebow, or some of the other guys who might have committed crimes. I remember down here when Greg Hardy got signed by the Dallas Cowboys, and there was a lot of people upset about that. So, do you have that limit, or are you just, hey, I'm all about the sports, or in this regard, I mean, I'm all about the sports, I'm all about my team. Let's get it on the field, and the rest of the stuff will take care of itself.
No, no. And you about me. I mean, you have to be a good person. One of the things I say is, if you have a great character, I can teach you anything else. It's not a problem. I like to have a person with good character. Yeah, and that's. I'm not going to sit here and say that they always got to put the team first. What I'm saying is that there's certain things that you have to know that you can't do, like these latest things that Deshaun Watson did. Unfortunately, if I owned a team, I wouldn't be signing this dude. I don't want to deal with the consequences that come with it, right? But know your role. Like, how do I say it? If the rules state do not look at porn on the computer, just don't look at porn on the computer. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to say that I won't forgive you, but learn your lesson. You know what I mean? Michael Vick, many years ago, with the whole
Dogfighting,
right? Had a problem. I mean, me being from Georgia, I never really saw a problem with dogfighting, but I get the concept of it, the reason why it is a problem. I get that, and don't get me wrong, I've never went out and fought dogs. But being from Georgia, it was never really a big issue until it is. You know what I mean? When it becomes a big issue and people find that it is not what they like, and it becomes something bigger, then you stop. Like he did. He stopped fighting dogs. He went and done his time. Now he has all kinds of, like, what are they called?
Endorsements.
Endorsements.
Maybe not necessarily endorsements, but partnerships
with animals' rights and stuff like that. And then he went and played for the Philadelphia Eagles. I rooted for this guy. I didn't have a problem with it because he did what he was supposed to do. What I always say is this: it's not how you say it, it's how the people perceive it. So just stop and think. If it's something that somebody is going to say, if you're going to say something that you think is going to offend somebody, then stop, think about it, reword it, and see if you can get it right. If you don't, then you just say, look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. It's not the way it was intended. And then you move on with your life. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what it is. Do what is humanly decently right, and I think you'll be fine. I'm not going to be here and say that I'm going to hold it against anybody that's ever on a team or anything like that. What I'm saying is, if you make a mistake, which we all are human, if you make a mistake, let's learn from that mistake, grow from it, build off of it, and be better for it in the future. And I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it depends also on what the crime is, or if it's even a crime. So I mean, I think for me, for the most part, I try not to worry too much about the off the field stuff. Obviously, we're big sports fans, trying to watch the games and rooting for our favorite teams, and we're just kind of trying to leave it at that. Some things like what you were talking about with Deshaun Watson, like we said, it's
a little more severe.
Pervert, sexual predator. They're like those are somewhere. Yeah, somewhere in the middle. That's where he's at. And also, if you are a fan of the team, for example, or in this case, the Cleveland Browns, you're gonna be on one side or the other. You heard people who said, "No, I cannot root for this team again," and then you heard others who said, "Yeah, we haven't won anything in forever." So here they are trying to get a franchise quarterback to do what they can to put us in the best position to win now and in the future. So now, as people, we have to be willing to answer those tough questions about ourselves.
Mhm.
What exactly is our priority? What exactly do we value? And I'm not necessarily trying to say one way or the other is wrong, but at the same time, I think if you don't really have a moral compass, honestly, I mean, Patrick, and this is going to sound bad, but I can't be mad at you with that, because the team that you're rooting for and the league that the team is in, they don't have a moral compass either. So why would I expect other people to have a moral compass? And I know that's bad, but it is true. It's the truth. Yes, that is what is facing us today. As we stand, as we sit here doing Breath of Fresh Air, that is what is going on in our faces. And those questions, in a lot of cases, they're already answered. So, like, they've been fans of this team, they're going to support whatever they do, no matter what. No matter what. And as egregious as that could sound, they don't care. They're all right with it. And they're going to justify it with whatever reasoning is, or whatever reasoning helps to back up their view. The only thing you hope with that justification, Patrick, is that it's coming from a place where it is well thought out, and not a place from where people are just saying, well, that's just the way I feel, and if you disagree with me, then screw you. And a lot of times that's what it boils down to.
Or it's somebody else's opinion, and you're just regurgitating it. So, I mean, look, so for example, with Deshaun Watson, would I sign this man today? No. Not because he's a bad player, but because, honestly, I just don't want to deal with the crap that comes with it. I like drama-free. I am really trying to save my life out of drama, right? So if Deshaun Watson is bringing drama, I don't want him. I don't care how good he is. I don't care what the fans say, is because if I bring him in, I just made my job harder. You see what I'm saying? But if I look at somebody like And here we are. Marcus Mariota, very drama-free right now. Much more appealing, and he is not the quarterback that Deshaun Watson is by no means, but he's much more appealing because he brings less drama. That's the way I kind of look at it. Now, I'm not going to say that my moral compass is right or it's wrong. I'm just saying, what is it that is going to make my life easier? Because I want to make millions and millions and millions of dollars on less and less and less and less work. Isn't that the American dream? And unfortunately, at this point in time, Marcus looks a lot better than Deshaun. Just saying. And it's just on those bases alone. Now, I mean, I sit and watch some of the week 1 of the preseason. I watched a little bit of it, and I mean, I'm not thoroughly impressed, but I'm not like completely disappointed either. You know what I mean? So I saw an Atlanta team that's willing to fight. Now, granted, playing Alliance, but still, there was some fight, and I liked that. And plus, I was just there to enjoy football anyway. So, basically, I think that's basically what I say. If you bring me a good character, I can handle that. We'll build on that. We'll build on good character and no drama. Good character and no drama.
Yeah, and then and the main thing, and then we can move on. The good character, that's what you want on the squad, and I think any corporation would want that, just good character people. And you can also deal with the occasional hiccup every now and again. Now, that hiccup probably has to be minor, don't get me wrong. But like if it's,
or even if it's severe, just something that we can grow from.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on, 20 years old, you grow up a woman. All right, bro. Watch it. Don't F up again, because I will literally cut you. Like, stitch.
Patrick. Patrick,
no, I'm just cut him from the team.
We're not trying to go to jail here. We're not.
2 wrongs don't make a right.
No.
I will cut you from the team. And so, but if he's like, look, dude. I mean, we all make mistakes. Look, I was trying to fix myself on the table. My hand slipped. She happened to bend over right at the right time. My hand just right. Don't do it again. You know what I mean?
It's probably off the team.
But you know what? It's all about the character. It's about the character, and if you bring me good character, then I can build from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether that incident is severe or minor, if I know that you are a good person and you're trying your best, and something just fell the wrong way, right? I mean, cases happen. Driving down the road, animal runs out in front of the car, you slide over, and something bad happens. We'll see what we can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, all right, Patrick. Well, man, let's move on to the game that we started last week. Of course, as we get close to these football games and the season starting, as a matter of fact, so we have 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, till everything really gets kicked off with college football. There will be some games in a week and a half, because there will be some games being played in late August as well. So the game that I speak of is Contender or Pretender, where we are talking about a few teams and asking whether they could be serious contenders or they just pretending because of the hype that's going on. So, Patrick, we're going to go back to the SEC. And you remember last week we were talking about Arkansas. Well, this week, man, we got a couple here, one from each division. and one from each division in the SEC. And let's start with the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, a lot of people, from what I am hearing, are very, very high on Tennessee, thinking they could be a dark horse in the SEC East. Now, I will say they have a prolific offense. I don't think they'll have problems scoring, but their defense, boy, oof, very, very, very leaky. So potentially, if they do have or show some improvements on the defense, they could potentially make some noise. But that's a lot to fill with that defense. So knowing that about Tennessee, with this is I guess this is the second year that Josh Heupel, the head coach, has been there, and we know Tennessee has had an issue keeping head coaches there. But do you see them contending, or are they pretending?
This is interesting because I'm actually trying to get tickets to take my youngest son to this football game between Georgia and Tennessee.
In Athens this year. Gotcha.
Yep. And our next door neighbors are huge Tennessee fans, and they're really not going to like what I'm saying. I think they're going to be pretending, and this is the reason why. You the bigger reason. Their defense is very leaky. But the next thing is this is the head coach, and normally we say, look, we really don't expect too much from a team until they hit about their third, maybe their fourth year, depending on what kind of recruits they got coming into their first year, right? So they're going to have a good schedule. They have a very favorable schedule for themselves. And I honestly see this team winning 8 games. Crazy enough, I still think they're a pretender because they're out of conference games. Very, very, I mean, that's 4 of their games right there.
It's favorable.
And very favorable. So, on top of that, I mean, obviously they got Georgia, they got Alabama. Who else they got? They got South Carolina. I think South Carolina is probably going to be a better team than they are. Florida's obviously going to be better. So, and then Kentucky, you got Kentucky, and then
they go to LSU,
and then they go to LSU this year. So, it's a tough schedule for them in conference. Do I think that they can get a couple of those wins? Yeah, but I think 3 of those wins come to Georgia and Alabama, and that's pretty. I guaranteed to those losses. So at that point, that kind of rules them out as a contender in the SEC. So that's what I lean to. I think they're a pretender.
Yeah, and I really don't have too much to add to that. I agree. I do think they're pretending too. I don't even think they might be third at the highest in the SECs, and I think that depends on how you feel about Florida. Florida has a lot of unknowns too. Now we know Florida does have the talent there, but they have a first-year head coach coming in Billy Napier, and it's going to take him a little bit just to get that system going. Now, if he is able to do that, then yeah, Tennessee, no doubt, is fourth in that division. After Georgia, Kentucky, and Florida. And I think maybe next year Tennessee could possibly contend if Josh Heupel is able to stay and continue to build that program, maybe recruit more on the defensive end. Tennessee could be something to mess with. But yeah, I think they're still a year away, possibly from being a year away.
And on top of that, I will say this: it's not because of their own doing.
No,
it's just the conference that they're playing in is so much harder. And Heiko is doing phenomenal things. I mean, last year compared to this year, I think they're going to be a much better this year. But Heigo's got to go out and get his recruits. He's got to fill that team with people that are wanting to build around his system and his playbook. And he's getting there. But there's a lot of things that are against him. One, the conference. Two, timing. I mean, this is only his second year. And three, recruitment. And come year 3, I think he's going to be even better. We'll have this discussion again next year about contending or pretending. But, I mean, this year I think it's a pretending. Next year it could be a totally different thing. So...
All right, Patrick. Well, let's get to the next team in the SEC. This one generating a lot of buzz.
Alabama.
No. We already know Alabama is not a pretender at all. No, but Texas A&M is a team who it's funny because it's either or for that team. A lot of people think, hey, this is the year they can break through. Other people are saying, no, this is completely a hype machine, and Jimbo Fisher's overrated and the team's overrated, and when it comes down to it, they're going to get smashed. So A&M looks like they have a loaded roster. Questions at the quarterback position, though, and their defensive line could be a worry, too. When you're facing those teams that like to run the ball, like in Alabama, problematic, to say the least. So with this, Patrick, I mean, speaking of the hype train, Texas A&M is number 6 in the AP poll that just came out, and I want to say they're number 6 or 7, one or the other, in the coaches poll as well. So A&M's high up there. What you think? Contending or pretending?
All right. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was quite high on this team too. Transfer portal kicks in. Here we are. This team, this is a crazy team. This is a crazy thing. Ranked number 1 in recruiting. With the people that they picked up in recruiting, they lost 5 of them. So, where do we stand now? One of them was a quarterback. Another one was, I think they had a wide receiver, a corner, 2 linemen. I mean, these kids were top of what position they were playing in, and now Texas A&M has lost them. I'm going to go pretending, and this is the reason why. Too many questions on that defensive side. I don't know if that defense can stop a run against Mississippi State, LSU, Alabama. And what Arkansas seems to be wanting to do is run the ball now. So 5 out of 8 teams, and you are one of them, and you really don't have a run game that is like matched to these 5, and you have questions at the quarterback. I want this team to be good, and I'm still rooting for this team to be good. But with what Alabama's bringing, what Arkansas is bringing, Arkansas actually picked up a lineman from Texas A&M and that transfer portal. Mm-hmm. What Ole Miss is going to bring, Lane Kiffin's going to be throwing that ball. I don't even know how the secondary is going to handle a team that can throw the ball like Ole Miss is going to be throwing. Ole Miss is coming out firing, dude. Have you seen their wide receivers?
I mean, I think Ole Miss is. I think Ole Miss is probably the second best team in that division to me. So,
truthfully, it wouldn't surprise me one bit, because when I look at these wide receivers, they put in 5 stars on every play. They're insane. Yep. And these kids can catch the ball, and they're fast. They have one kid that ran a 4.1.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin has definitely looked like he's kind of found a niche there.
Yeah, he has. So with these teams, and I hadn't even mentioned Auburn, LSU, and I did mention Mississippi State in their run game, but I mean, Auburn and LSU, they're going to be physical. I don't know if Jimbo can bring the physicality that these 7 teams are going to bring every week. I'm going pretending, and it's mostly because they lost what they lost in the transfer portal.
Yes, I mean, A&M has had trouble in the transfer portal and just off the field. Remember, one of their receivers got arrested not too long ago, and the quarterback, you're talking about Kazada, who transferred to Auburn. So on top of everything you just said, for me, yeah, I'm with you. It is a pretending, and for not even for all those reasons that you had said, very valid reasons, of course, but A&M just has to show me something. This team has been hyped up for years.
4 years that I know of, and that's because
and all we keep hearing is, oh, we got Jimbo now. This is the year. They're about to make these strides and perhaps contend for the SEC championship game. And they haven't come close to being there. And also, if you're all right, I'll make this analogy, Patrick. So let's look at baseball, and we're going to get to baseball later on in the show. But just look at this. Follow me for a second. So you
okay. I don't know where you're going, but okay.
Check it out, man. Check it out. So you have the San Diego Padres, and they are going and they are making all these moves to do what? To beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is the team that is on their radar. That is the team that has been on their radar. And every move they make is designed to beat them. Now, you might make those moves and they might be enough to beat the Dodgers. But there are other teams you have to worry about as well in order to get to the spot that you're trying to get to. So, yeah, you might beat the Dodgers, but if you lose to the San Francisco Giants, or later on, if you lose to, name the team, St. Louis Cardinals, Atlanta Braves, Milwaukee Brewers, whoever it may be, none of those moves matter because they didn't pay off. That's the same thing with Texas A&M.
But Texas A&M beat Alabama. That's all it is to it.
Yeah, but then they lost to Mississippi. But then they lost to Mississippi State, and then they lost to Arkansas, and they lost to Ole Miss and LSU. So you have to take care of that business. Yeah, cool. You beat Alabama, but it's at the end of your season because you beat Alabama. No, Alabama's the one still going to the SEC championship game
because you lost 5 games and they lost 1.
Yeah, right. So yeah. So there's your comparison right there. And that's what I see a lot with A&M. They're just they got Alabama running around in their head rent-free. Jimbo Fisher, anytime Nick Saban pops off some type of quote, he's mad. He's hot. He's hot. A&M paid for all their players. Man, no. Damn that. You go ahead and you go digging in his closet. That was Jimbo Fisher. And so with all that hype around Alabama, you tend to forget about those other teams that are in your division or in the conference if you have to play those teams or those teams in the East. And that's where A&M is at to me. They're going to have to show they can show consistency on top of beating Alabama if you're able to beat Alabama. I don't know if that's happening with that game being in Tuscaloosa this year. I tend to think Alabama's going to kind of work them, but we'll see when the time comes.
I think so.
We'll see.
He's got something for him.
Yeah. So yeah, all those reasons you pointed out, very good reasons. For me, it's just as simple as show me. Stop the hype train. Yeah, show me you can be consistent, beat Alabama, and actually go there. I'll have to see that to believe it from them. This number 6 ranking, way overrated to me. Sorry, way overrated.
Well, and like you always say, it'll work. It works itself out.
Yeah.
This is the thing, and I actually had this conversation with somebody just last week actually, And I was like, yeah, I think Kirby Smart is the better coach that beat Nick Saban. And he was like, well, wait, hold on, how did I put it? More like Nick Saban was the only coach that beat Nick Saban, is what I said. And he was like, well, what about Jimbo Fisher? And I was like, well, because both of them came from his camp. I was like, well, my thing is that Jimbo lost all of his games around Nick Saban, and Kirby Smart won all his games. And then I was like, so out of those two, I still feel that Kirby Smart was the more consistent coach. And I feel that if somebody is going to beat him in the future, it ain't gonna be Jimbo Fisher, it'll be Kirby Smart. And he was, I see your perspective, but Jimbo Fisher recruits well. And I was like, well, that's great, but Kirby Smart coaches better.
Yeah, you have to be able to coach them. Recruiting doesn't mean anything if you can't coach
Recruiting
them.
doesn't mean crap if you can't coach them. You can get a 4-star, but if you can make him play like a 5-star. Now we're looking at a number one defense again. So, even with the way Georgia recruited, and I think they finished like 4th or 5th. Even when they recruited, they're still looking at Georgia as the number one defense going into the season. And I'm like, I don't quite see it yet, but they might be seeing something I don't. I'm thinking Alabama probably has a better defense this year because they recruited very well in defense. And when you got recruiting like that, Nick Saban can also coach them. So I want to see how it goes for the first couple of games. And Georgia's got Oregon right off the bat, so we're going to find out pretty quickly how good Georgia is.
All right, Patrick, we got to move on, and we're going to jump to the Big Ten. Got to be a little quick with this one. Okay. This one is the Michigan Wolverines. So we know Michigan finally came through and busted the door down. Finally won a Big Ten championship. Of course, got smashed in the semifinal there, the college football playoff semifinal by your beloved Georgia Bulldogs. But Michigan had a lot of seniors on that team that went to the NFL last year. So that was a pretty experienced team from last year. So now here they are. They are ranked number 8 in the preseason poll here. Of course, their rival, Ohio State, is number 2 in the poll. And what do you see with Michigan there? So can you see them pretending or contending?
Well, man, it's really hard because you go from the SEC to the Big Ten, and I hate using this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm just going to say it. In this conference, there's not a lot of bite. So,
you don't have to apologize for telling the truth, Patrick.
I'm apologizing because it's like it seems like all my answers are like, well, it's based on this conference, you know what I mean? And it's not based on the team, you know what I mean? That's the reason why I'm like, I feel bad for saying it this way, but this conference has a lot of bark and not a lot of bite. As you can see, Ohio State's 2, Michigan's 8, and you got Michigan State 15, right? I really feel there's a lot of bark in there, minus Ohio State. But again, here we are talking about the conference, not the team. So with Michigan, I'm going to say contender. But I only say contender because there's only one team that really could legitimately beat Michigan, and that is Ohio State. And honestly, I do have Ohio State beating them this year. I know that they lost a lot of experience, and I'm curious about how Harbaugh is going to adapt to defenses bringing a lot of pressure this year. I'm kind of curious about how that's going to go. But I don't really see anybody else that's going to step into that role and give Ohio State a run for their money. So I'm going to go Contender, but it's really based on the whack of offense and defense the rest of that conference has.
Yeah, I'm with you. I say they are a contender. Now, what will be interesting about Michigan is to see if they are able to make these adjustments. Teams are going to try to take away their running game, and it can't be if you're not running the ball well, you're just going to continue to just hammer. Now, that might work if you just physically are better. If you just physically have an offensive line, you can say, let's just continue to wear them down, and eventually we're going to go ahead and break that out. But if they are playing teams like Ohio State or Michigan State, perhaps, you're going to have to do multiple things. And if you can't, then you're going to go ahead and get beat. We know this about Jim Harbaugh. He's pretty hard-headed. And he's not really going to want to adjust. He's just really prideful in that regard. And another thing, Patrick, that is interesting with Michigan, they're the hunted now this year because they have won the Big Ten. It's not, man, we're trying to go ahead and get above Ohio State. Yes, granted, Ohio State does look like the favorite in that conference, but Michigan is the defending champ. So now teams are gunning for them. It's no longer Michigan is going to be, they're hunting and they're trying to take that beast down. They did that. They won the conference, and now teams are going to want to beat them and take that crown away from them. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jim Harbaugh and crew handle that too.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you though. I got them contending, but yeah, there's really not a whole bunch of teams that you would say could contend. I mean, the Big Ten's going to get a lot of hype. And you talk about what you were saying about Tennessee angering some people. Well, what I'm about to say about the Big Ten is going to anger a whole region.
Do it.
Yeah, the Big Ten's just not that good. They are not that good of a conference, simply put. And just because you throw all this funding into these TV contracts, that don't mean y'all good. That just means y'all have a lot of money. And so that is it. Y'all haven't done anything on the field. With the exception of Ohio State, y'all have not won a championship in the two major sports, football and basketball. Y'all have not won a championship with the exception of Ohio State in the last 2 decades. And they were both in football. And so
when was the last time Ohio State won?
Ohio State won in 2002 and in 2014, the first year of the college football playoff.
Okay, so and by rule, we can really only talk about one of those.
Yes, because it is out of your league of
15 years.
Yeah, after 2005. Yeah.
So 2007 is the last time. I mean, that's it. So you got 2007 to today. So you only got one championship that y'all can talk about.
So yeah, there's that for y'all. Big Ten Conference. Get at us if you want.
There's a whole new list of comments right there. Go ahead and put it in there.
So Patrick, let's move on to the NFL. We got 4 teams, and then we're gonna get on this thing with Fernando Tatis Jr. But it seems like yesterday, or actually last year, we were asking this question about the Miami Dolphins. But here we are asking this question about the Miami Dolphins, contender or pretender. So the Dolphins have made some moves. Picked up Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle there. With him, the tight end, Mike Gesicki is good, and they have a pretty good defense. So now the questions are, what does Tua Tagovailoa do with all that weaponry? Looks like he's coming in healthy for the first time in a while, not having to rehab from anything. Does it have all the mess that's going on in terms of leadership, trying to get him in there, him not ready to be in there? When he does bad, he's getting pulled. Just seems a little cleaner there. Well, just one solid voice with the new head coach there, Mike McDaniel, who of course was the old offensive coordinator for my favorite professional team, the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of good vibes in Miami right now. What do you see in them? Pretending or contending?
Well, with all of what you said, one would want to lean towards contending. Question. My question is going to remain is how good is Tua? With all of those weapons that he has, how good is Tua? I'm going to say pretending, and I feel that it's going to take a couple of years for all of this talent to mesh. I feel that it may just take this year, and they might start figuring some stuff out. But when you got Buffalo and New England in that same division, it's hard to say that this team will contend in a division like that. And on top of that, the AFC is they have some good teams in there, and I think Miami will keep it close on a lot of games. They may even have a winning record. But I don't think that they make a playoff run this year because of the division that they're in with Buffalo and New England. I just don't see. And then on top of that, you got the Jets, who lost their quarterback in week 1 of preseason. So I really don't think that the Jets are really going to push anything this year. But Buffalo. They were no sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I was trying to be nice about it, but let's just call it what it is. Jets ain't gonna do crap. But Buffalo looking good. If they stop fighting each other, they look good. So, I'd say pretender.
Yeah. I am with you there. Yeah, even with all those moves, they're not better than Buffalo. And depending on how you feel about the Patriots, they're not even better than them. Now, I see them kind of neck and neck there. And then they're going to play each other twice, of course, being in the division. So whichever way those two games go, then that will be your second team and that will be your third team. Obviously being better than the Jets, who will be bringing up the rear. Yep. But, yeah, the AFC does look loaded, and I think Miami will be solid. I think they will put some wins together, but a legit threat to win a Super Bowl or to make a deep run in the playoffs, I don't see that with Miami. And I'm not really a fan of Tua that much. Now, what I will say about Tua is he hasn't had the best hand since he's been there. Now, maybe there's some things that's settling down around him. It'll be interesting to see what he does with clearer paths. Because there isn't a whole bunch of question now. He's going to get this year. He's going to get a chance to prove what he can do. He's healthy. New coach, new system, more offensive-minded coach in there. Tua has a lot of stuff that's favorable for him for the first time since he's been in the league.
Yeah. So I give him that. Let's give it a year. Let's have this conversation after beginning of next year. Could change, but there's a lot of good things in Miami. Don't get me wrong, a lot of good things in Miami, but there's a lot of moving pieces that are just going to have to learn to mesh. Once they learn to mesh, they're going to be a lot better. But this year, I don't see it.
So, all right, Patrick, let's move on to this is an interesting one.
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
No. No. And although
I just like to try to predict what you're going to say.
No.
But we all know.
Although I do think they will be better. They will be. They'll be more respectable this year. I do see that with Jacksonville.
Yeah, 3 wins maybe.
No, they had 3. You know, as dysfunctional as they were, they had 3 wins last year.
They might get 4. Either way, it's a step in the right direction.
Yes. No, Patrick. The team that is in question are the Indianapolis Colts, who, of course, have your old quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan, coming in there to replace Carson Wentz. Now, a lot of people like the Colts, mainly on that move. Um, the Colts have a good offensive line, beast running back and Jonathan Taylor, and a good solid defense. It appears the pieces are there. Um, I would say everything with the exception of the receiving core. I think the receiving core is a little suspect, but the Colts overall have a pretty well-rounded team, and a lot of people think getting Matt Ryan in there to replace Carson Wentz can get them to being a serious contender toward a deep playoff run in the Super Bowl. What say you on that, Patrick? Contending or pretending?
Dude, you just loaded it up with pretenders this week. Ah. Okay. So watching Matt Ryan play for the past 12 years, you're either going to get one of two Matt Ryans. A fantastic Matt Ryan, who is going to give you 50 touchdowns, 4 interceptions with over 5,000 passing yards, or 30 touchdowns with 20 interceptions and just over 3,000. Okay. And if you want to count the pick sixes or the run backs, he'll get over 6,000 passing yards. So he'll get his passing yards, whether it's going one way or the other. I don't know where they're going. So, but I'm going to say pretending. They may even win their division. May. I don't see it. I think Tennessee's a much better team. But that AFC is loaded, man. And I don't just because you have Matt Ryan. Honestly, I mean I'm not going to say that Matt Ryan moves the needle enough from Carson Wentz to make that big of a difference. I just don't. I mean, Carson had a lot of he's had a lot of issues with confidence, where Matt Ryan really doesn't have that. He will take the shots downfield, but understand that Matt Ryan is kind of one of those, if you want to use a baseball terminology, he's swinging for the fences. And when you swing for the fences, you're either going to hit a home run or you're going to strike out. Or in his case, you're either going to throw a touchdown, or the more likely situation, he's going to throw an interception. So Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. He does not move your needle to make you a playoff run. He may win that division, but depending on who he gets matched with, they're going to be a one and done in the playoff. So I'm going to say pretender, just because I just don't think that they even make a deep run into the playoffs.
And I guess you're right. I guess I did pretty much load this whole thing with pretenders because I think the Colts are pretenders too. I don't think they're that good. The Colts, to me, all right, two things. Matt Ryan, I think, is a marginal upgrade from Carson Wentz. Like, I don't see this as a huge upgrade there. And a lot of people are looking at it like, oh my God, they got Matt Ryan. Oh, they're ready. Listen, Carson Wentz played well last year. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions was what he had. Look it up. The stats are right there. When those interceptions came, they were terrible interceptions and horrendous plays. I get it. And this next point I have that I'm about to make brings me to a head coach, Frank Reich. Because a lot of people want to say he is a great head coach. I don't see that at all in Frank Reich. That team busted. That team threw up on themselves last year when they had a chance to get into the playoffs. They had 2 chances to clinch a spot. They lost that game to the Las Vegas Raiders, and then they completely peed on themselves against the Jaguars in that game. And and nobody showed up. Nobody. And everybody just dumped on Carson Wentz. And everyone just dumped on Carson Wentz. Like that was the low-hanging fruit. I understand Carson Wentz did not play well. Cool. But when your team no-shows like that That's on the coaching staff, Patrick. That is not on the quarterback there. That coaching staff did not have them prepared to play.
No. And then on top of that, there was a wide receiver that dropped. I think this was the game. But the wide receiver dropped like 3 passes that would have been touchdowns. And it's not that Carson Wentz threw like an immaculate throw. It's that the dude was wide open and he turned his head and didn't get the ball. but that was Indianapolis's problem all season. They dropped more balls than they caught.
Yeah, they have a lack of
receiving core. Just because Matt Ryan is there, it doesn't mean they're going to catch any more balls.
So yeah, it to me, that those two things, I think that needs to be looked at more. I get it. Carson Wentz, apparently he wasn't the best leader in the clubhouse. Okay, I understand that. You're probably getting a better leader in Matt Ryan in the clubhouse. I get that. But you're going to have to make it produce on the field. And again, that coaching staff was not good toward the end of the season. So show me the evidence. Somebody show me anything that says Frank Wright is just this beast coach, because I haven't seen it. And just like what we were saying about Texas A&M
last year, I didn't see none.
Yeah, just like what we said about A&M, you got to show me. Coach's gonna have to show me before I believe anything. So, yeah, I'll probably pick Tennessee to win that division too. All right, so
I'll tell you, I got Tennessee winning that. I mean, even though I said that they have a chance, that the Colts have a chance, I'm picking Tennessee. I'll go ahead and tell you, and that's just ruining the NFL pick that we got in a couple weeks coming up. We already know where Tennessee's going to be in the playoffs.
Thanks for the spoiler alert, Patrick.
And
so real quick, before we get to Fernando Tatis, I'm gonna ask, and this is probably easy pretender too. Dude, you know what? I'm just gonna ask the question. I'm not even gonna go into a whole bunch of detail with it. Are the Arizona Cardinals taking a step back this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When they pulled that addendum, yeah. There you go. We're done. We can move on. I don't even want to waste airtime on the Cardinals. Personal opinion. Pretender.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You don't want to take a moment to bash on Kyler Murray? No.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to, I mean, we only got 8 minutes, so yeah.
No, that's all right, because that's going to take up the whole show. Because I want to get in on that too, by the way. So
I know you do. That's the reason why I'm saying pretender. Move on.
All right,
I'll do your job on this one.
All right, I appreciate it, and I think they take a giant step back. Not even a step back. I think I think this team might be under 500.
I got third or fourth in the conference.
Yeah, they might be under 500. I think it's going to be that bad for the Cardinals. Well, all right, man. Let's get to the suspension of San Diego Padres star Fernando Tatis Jr. So he got hit, Patrick. 80-game suspension. Tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug. I forget what the name of the drug was here. But basically, the excuse that he had made was that he was trying to treat ringworms, and it had a steroid in the substance. So, 80 games. So tell me why, Patrick. His father, who of course also played in the major leagues, Fernando Tatis Sr., comes out and says, "Oh, Major League Baseball could have handled this differently." Well, how are they supposed to handle it? Tell me how they were supposed to handle it. That policy, and you know me, Patrick, I am not one to have the Major League. I am not one to have Major League Baseball's back when it comes to policies. But this is clear. You get hit, 80-game suspension. That is clear. They made that clear after all the stuff that went on back in the steroid era, the drama that was Alex Rodriguez and Ryan Braun, and them trying to do their appeals on it. And of course, we know Ryan Braun won his appeal originally. and then he
screwed that up.
Yeah, then he screwed that up. Yeah. And so but this is as clear as day. This part of Major League Baseball's code of conduct, whatever you want to call their standards, even going into the collective bargaining agreement, whatever it is, that part is clear. First offense, 80 games. That has been in the agreement for years now. So if Fernando Tatis Sr. wants to get loose on somebody, well, he probably needs to go toward his own son. This is not a Major League Baseball problem. This is a Fernando Tatis Jr. effed up and has continuously effed up, going back to his motorcycle injuries. Stop riding motorcycles, dude, if you're going to continue to fall off. And then you're messing up your wrist, and you were rehabbing, and then you get this news. They signed this dude to a 10-year, I don't know how much money deal. It's like $300-400 million.
$375 million.
Thanks for the exact $375 million deal, and you can't stay on the field because you're either injured or getting popped for PED usage. So there has to be a talk, and apparently there's going to be some talks this week. Management's not happy. I don't think those players are happy because they understand the opportunity they have, Patrick, and we were talking about that earlier with the Padres. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Since they got Juan Soto in there, you assume, if everything goes right with Tatis Jr., got a very good lineup, and you think they probably will go about a 2-year window. Because you know Juan Soto's going to come up due for a contract. We'll see if he leaves. And then you have to see what they do with the rest of those people that they sign big money contracts for. But this opportunity right here, oh, you messed this up. This is bad here. And the team is mad. Management's mad. You can hear it on the players when they're interviewing. They're mad. And for his dad, for Tatis, and for Tatis Jr. to come through and say this is Major League Baseball's fault for not handling it properly. How out of touch are you? Like,
you're reading, but this is my take on it right here, and mine's pretty cut and dry. I'm about policies, right? As long as they're within reason, right? And if you're gonna treat something, okay, treat it, but talk to your team. He didn't even talk to his team. He didn't say anything about it. He just
did it.
Ringworms.
Yep.
What? Okay.
Just went and did it.
Just went and did it. So this is my take on it. If you're not going to communicate with the team, you're not going to communicate with Major League Baseball, letting them know what the deal is, right? And you know that you're having to take something for treatment. Just talk to the people. You'd be surprised at what communication will do. You'll be surprised. It's amazing what communication does. No, he brought it on himself. He didn't talk to Major League Baseball. He didn't talk to his team. And his dad is so far out of reality right now, he just needs to shut up. Because the policy states first time offense of any PED, 80 games. Done. He's already done until the beginning of he's already done through the beginning of next season. Yeah.
Like May or June.
Yeah. So if you're going to do it, talk to the people that are signing your paycheck, dude. I am always in agreement of if you have a problem, you talk to the people that sign your paycheck. I don't know what the problem is. No, he brought it on himself. He should have communicated that, said, hey, look, this is the deal. This is what I'm going through. I need to take this. This does have a steroid in it. I got to get rid of this. I will totally suspend myself for the time that I am on these. Then I will take the test. As soon as I'm clear, then I'll go back to playing baseball. I do not mind doing that. Don't put yourself in this position where you put your team and the management is infuriated with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded, honestly.
Yeah, well, I think this is growth time for Fernando Tatis Jr. So I won't say he gets traded right now. Because they've invested way too much in him right now, man. So that's why I don't think he's going to get traded right now. Now, if things continue to go astray that conversation definitely gets a little bit louder. But I
Yeah.
think right now where they're at is we need to have heart to heart, man to man conversations because management was not happy. And you wouldn't expect them to be happy about something like this. But this is,
Put together, man. They were ready.
yeah, they're making the run. They're coming. That like it is no secret what they are trying to do. They're all in and they are trying to win championships or at least a championship. And that talk now is coming. This heart to heart, hey, you need to get your S together right now because this is a pattern. It's not necessarily this is an isolated incident now. This is a pattern of you not being able to ride bikes and now getting popped for PEDs because the next time he does it, Patrick, it's the year. He's gone for a year if this happens again. So this is gut check, man-to-man time for Fernando Tatis Jr. You're 23 years old, 23, 24 years old. You're very young. And
Yeah, we're still
just a second. And
2 minutes.
so, yeah, this is gut check time for him. He's gonna have to figure things out, and that management talk, and maybe some of those players are gonna have to talk, and hopefully he gets it together for the team's sake, and most importantly for himself before his career spirals out of control. Well, Patrick, I saw the alert there that you were kind of giving me indirectly, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. That concludes this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and keep the lights coming on, or excuse me, follow the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. So until next week, everybody take care. Enjoy the NFL preseason games and the baseball that is going on as it's starting to wind their season down. And we will be back next week. Y'all take care.